Please be seated. Any apologies, please?
Yes, Chair. I've received apologies from Councillor Paul, who is unable to be with us because of an engagement with the District Council.
Councillor Helen Cash is seeking authority to be absent from all council meetings for a period of 4 months. The reason for the request is due to her personal circumstances, which make it difficult for her to fulfil all her council duties at this time. This will be a temporary arrangement. I'm asking Council to approve Councillor Cash's absence during this period. So can I have a show of hands of those who are in favour of that, please? Thank you very much. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 2. Any declarations of interest, please? Declaration? No? Excellent. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to Mayor's reports and urgent items. I've got several here. Since I was council, I've attended 27 events. I'd like to say some words about the Christmas Carnival, which I thought went very, very well. We were very fortunate with the weather. The carnival was extremely well attended. I don't think I've ever seen as many people on the parade. All the stallholders did well, at least the ones I spoke to, and I spoke to quite a few. And also when I was leaving, the various restaurants, wine bars, etc. were all full. So I'd like to congratulate 2 officers, Sally Walker and Heather Scott, on their efforts. I'm going to say a few words about the lights in a minute, but does anybody else want to say anything about the carnival? Do you want to say anything, Councillor Canfield, about one of your stallholders?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. An excellent event as usual. Young Enterprise did extremely well. 10 stalls, raised over £2,000, so average of 200 a piece, although best shot was 600 and something, worst shot was £69. So lovely, thank you very much, and it really fitted in well with the rest of the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, may I just request this evening, just for this evening,
yes.
Talk from sitting down.
Yes,
Apologies.
Yes,
I have been involved with the event for 16 years when it first took over. Well, it was the big night out, and I'd have to say it was probably one of the best that I've seen. Okay, there were a few deficiencies and a few hiccups and so forth. The police reckoned last year that we had around about 12,000 people. I think that this year there were many more, and I think you can justifiably say 15,000 people were in the town at any one time, which has benefited the town to a huge extent.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Now I'd like to move on to the lights. We've had a lot of positive comments this year about the lights in the town centre, South Down and Batford. So I'd like to make a few thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank our county councillors, Terry Heritage, David Williams, for their locality budget contributions. I'd also like to especially thank David Grant for his work, and for Councillor Mary Maynard for her hands-on management of the entire project, and it certainly needed it. And I think that the many cold hours they spent were well worth it. Has anybody got any comments they'd like to make on the lights?
I'd just like to say how many comments that I've had from members of the community as to how great the lights are this year, and they certainly are a very great addition to the town this year.
I was going to say, on the lights, many people were really amazed by the lights and really enjoyed it. So very enjoyable occasion.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next thing is I had in support of the 2 charities that I'm supporting during my year, I had a race night at the Harpenden Trust Halls on Saturday evening. And this went very well, and it raised a total of £2,700. I was very pleased to hear this afternoon that, unknown to me, that William Hill, who are the people who managed it for us, have got a pot of money and they can apply for match funding for against the amount raised during the evening, which was about £1,000 on the races and the tote and so forth. And they applied for that and got it. So that means another £1,000 in the pot, which takes it to £3,700, which is a really good result. Very pleased. So it's all topping up for the charities. Now on to other matters. The draft strategic local plan. Now, I'm anticipating that you're all aware of this. This affects the entire St Albans district, and it's been published. It's been through the district policy planning committee and the cabinet, and it goes to the full council at a special meeting on Wednesday evening, the 2nd of December. Subject to it being approved, and at the moment there appears to be quite reasonable cross-party support at the district council for this, but which you'll see on the evening. It will then go out for final public consultation, and that will focus on whether the plan can be legally challenged or in planning terms is not considered sound. Okay. Now, I've called a strategic planning committee meeting for Wednesday the 9th of December, which will have an agenda item to discuss this draft strategic local plan. So people can turn up on the 2nd of December in St Albans or the 9th of December to hear what we have to say. I've received an invitation from the spatial planning team at St Albans to discuss what they call the urban and potential small-scale green belt changes and housing capacity, which I'm anticipating is just an information meeting where they basically provide me with some information, and I'll be reporting these discussions back to the strategic planning committee. The draft SLP only provides for one, what they call broad area of development within the green belt in Harpenden, and that is Site 5, which is to the northwest of the town. No other areas broad areas are in consideration, and there are two others elsewhere in the district. So that's the strategic local plan latest situation. Now, on the Westfield former allotment land, I'd like to give you a brief update on where we are with that. Members approved the appointment of architects to draft a design for the site to meet the ambitions of the council to provide 100% affordable housing. We're very appreciative of the need for affordable rented general needs housing in the town, and we're proud that we're seeking to provide the first affordable housing scheme in Harpenden for 5 years. Designs were drafted following an extensive period of site evaluation, which included ecological, soil, arboricultural, archaeological, transportation and water drainage surveys. The designs were presented to councillors in the first instance for comment, following which we held 2 public exhibitions to present draft designs so that residents and others in the town showing an interest could see what we were looking to provide. It also clearly defined the site we were focusing on. This has helped to dispel many myths that have been promulgated, and the feedback received from the exhibitions was extremely encouraging. The stage following this exercise was to submit an outline planning application. Discussions were held with St Albans planning officers based on the draft plans presented to members and at the public exhibitions. Comments and observations made by the officers were taken into consideration and plans were submitted for planning permission. The planning application has gone live and is available on the District Council website, Planning Reference 5, 2015, 3056. It will be on the planning agenda for Plans A on Tuesday the 8th of December. However, as it's a town council planning application, we will not be able to express views on it. So I ask members just to note what I've just said. I think that's about it in terms of urgent items. So, item 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Order 16. Mr. Gray.
Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is just to inform you of something that's come across over the last year. I've done copies of letters for every one of you, so as you know where I'm coming from on this and as to why. I'll read the letter out to you and then I'll pass the letter amongst you so you can keep it and dissect it in whatever way you wish. First of all, I would like to bring your attention a number of facts that have come to my knowledge by Council Officer David Grant, who attended a Remembrance Day washing up meeting Tuesday last week. At this meeting, the RBL informed him that the RBL committee had decided to remove myself from the post of Parade Marshal and that an RAF cadet named Adam Birch would be taking up this post. I have had no direct notification from the RBL, just a simple message passed through from David Grant, with no reason given as to why this decision has been made, and as a matter of interest there has been no formal protocol followed. At the same meeting, Armed Forces Day was discussed. It would appear at length without the full attendance of the Armed Forces Day committee, and I understand that a new committee has been formed and a new chairman elected, who is also Adam Birch from the RAF Cadets, but again no formal protocol was followed. I understand from David Grant the following points: that the Council are taking a step back from the organisation of this function, that the RBL wants sole rights to charitable donations taken on at the event. I believe this also the case for the provision of food and drink on the Common or at the Royal Legion Club, as was the case this year. I only had 5 days notice of the RBL that under no circumstances there were to be any food outlets on the Common, despite the fact the arrangements had already been made and the AFD committee had been notified of this back in January. I have been invited by Adam Birch on behalf of the RBL if I would be willing to plan something for the main arena, as I have done in previous years, for which this item is the last one in the show. I have asked for clarification on this point because as a new committee has been set up, it would appear that I am not required to organise the rest of the show. Item 5. I've also been instructed that I do not book anything until next committee meeting, which is on January 6, 2016. I would like to say to you that all this makes my position as event organiser untenable as to ensure participants' availability. I have to start booking and sending out invites straight after the show back in June 2015, especially to members of the Armed Forces. For those of you that are not aware, I was approached originally by John Bagshaw to organise this event 3 years ago, and with the help of family and friends we have worked tirelessly all year in order to make the event the success it has been. Many of you will not be aware that in order to put the show together we make ourselves available for 2 solid days, arriving on Friday at 7:30 to start the set-up process, and do not stop until Saturday evening until around 10 o'clock, because we're the only ones left, the so-called committee, to clear everything away and make sure the Common is left clean and tidy as the way we found it. As this has all come as a bit of a shock, I have made the decision to take my resources and team of helpers to a new venue for next year and leave the organisation of the Harpenden Armed Forces to Adam Birch and the new Armed Forces Committee. Having spoken to John Bagshaw and David Grant prior to putting this letter together, they asked me to email Adam Birch, which I did, but as yet have had no response. But in light of the attitude of the RBL, I no longer wish to form a relationship with this committee. Yours sincerely, Chris Gray. And that's my decision. So if I can just pass this around and let you have a copy so you can dissect it at your leisure. So, and just as a footnote, if I may,
Yeah.
I not only deal with Harpenden, but I also deal with other groups outside of Harpenden, especially of Stevenage. I do work tirelessly with a group called Combat Stress. You probably have heard of them. This year alone, due to the fact that we've toured around with the battle proms to the stately manors around the UK, we have raised £52,000 odd pounds in the time that it's taken. My personal commitment to that was £10,250.47 with my team of volunteers and helpers. I find, in light of what's happened over the last few days, since last Tuesday, a shock, and therefore I've taken the action that I have. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you want to do, but as I say, I've already taken steps to move on. So I thank you very much for your time and your ears.
Well, thank you very much for that regrettable situation. This is the first I've heard of it. I thought you did a very good job for the Armed Forces Day last year. Really good. And also I thought you organised the Remembrance Day parade very well indeed. So I'm very disappointed to hear about
I can offer you no explanation as to why the RBL have adopted this attitude.
Yeah.
I'm afraid you'll have to ask them.
Yeah. Well, we will.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I can't comment on the details of this as I'm not privy to them, and whether it sounds regrettably like Mr. Grayling. All I can say is that over the last few years that I can say, Chris, if I may, has been involved not just in Armed Forces Day, but with Remembrance Sunday services. It has really highlighted, I think, how well this town does remembrance and how we have respect for our armed forces. The first Armed Forces Day, I think people thought, what's it going to be? Is it going to be, fish or fowl? And actually, whatever it was absolutely fantastic. I remember that, and it will continue to be fantastic. As I say, I don't want to sort of muddy the waters. I don't know the sort of details of the RBL, but I did think it was there to support its members and support ex-servicemen. And I know that previous to coming to Harpenden, Chris gave many years in the Armed Forces, and I think that professionalism was highlighted, particularly in the March Remembrance Sunday. So myself, as an individual member of this body, I just want to put on record, I think, from what I've seen on the courtesy level alone, I think the treatment of such a dedicated ex-servant to our country and our town, the lack of courtesy shown, I personally find appalling.
Just as a footnote, that is the only contact I've had from Adam Birch, which was last week, informing me of the points that I've raised on the letter. And that's all I've had.
Not very good. Not very good.
And,
well, okay.
And it particularly makes it sour as my mouth, because obviously this next year is the Queen's celebration.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this. As I say, this is the first time I've heard of this situation. We'll make contact with the British Legion. I mean, strictly speaking, it's their event, but we facilitate it. But we will talk to them, and we'll get back to you.
I will add one point on this. If you look at the Armed Forces website, which is sponsored by the MOD, there is no connection mentioned at all about the RBL being sole responsibility for the celebration. It is open to all of the community, not just the RBL. And I'll make that point very clear if I may.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
ladies
you
and
very
gentlemen.
much. Thank you. Move on to item 6. Sorry, 5 questions which have previously been submitted by members of the council.
I've not received any.
Not received any. Thank you. Item 6, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 28th of September 2015, which were circulated here. Can I assign those as a true record?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Do that. move on to minutes of committees and working parties reporting to the council. 7.1, Planning Aid Committee.
Chair, thank you. I'm pleased to present to Council the minutes of the Planning Committee A meeting on the 13th of October and the 10th of November. There are no recommendations.
Thank you. 7.2, Planning B Committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present the minutes of Planning B Committee on the 29th of September and the 27th of October, with no recommendations.
Thank you very much. Now, 7.3, the Environment Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleasure in recommending, whatever word it's on, presenting the minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday, 16th September. There are no recommendations to Council.
Thank you very much. 7.4, the Human Resources Committee.
Thank you.
That's me. I'd like to present those meetings. You'll notice that there is a blue section which we'll deal with at the end as it's exempt business. But I'd like to...
One recommendation to Council at 13.1 on page 43.
Very much. There's one recommendation. 13.1.
13.1, 13.3.
Yeah, this is the staff conditions of service for about driving licences. To sign a disclosure each year confirming the status of their driving licence. Sorry, on an ongoing basis, not just once a year. I'd like to recommend that resolution. Can we have a show of hands, please, in favour? Thank you very much. 7.5, Policy and Finance Committee.
I'm pleased to present to Council the minutes of the Policy and Finance Committee that was held on the 28th of October 2015. There are three sets of recommendations to Council. The first is minute 24.3, which can be found on page 47 of your agenda document. This is health and safety policy. The committee is recommending to Council that the health and safety policy as reported with the amendment at section 1.11 driving at work be approved.
Thank you. Do we accept that recommendation?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous.
Minute 24.7, which you can find on page 48. 24.7 recommends to Council that the risk register be approved.
Chair, could I just add to that clearly it's a bulky document, but it is available on the website and there is reference to it. So I think we refer to it in the local council award scheme that takes you to that document.
And we have approved that in the past. So are there just minor amendments to it?
Yes.
In that case, I'd like to recommend that to Council. All in favour, please. Thank you very much. Unanimous.
And minute 25.3, which can be found on page 50 of your agenda, is recommend to Council that the audited annual return. Would you like me to take these as a group? The first part is the audited annual return for 2014-15 be approved. That the single issue arising from the external auditor's report regarding the treatment of investments be noted, and that the proposed action by the clerk in response to the auditor's comments be approved.
Thank you. Any comments or? Okay, I'd like to put that recommendation to Council. All in favour, please. Thank you. Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed. We now move on to item 8, Officers' Reports, and the 8.1, the Queen's 90th Birthday Celebrations Report, which is on page 53.
Yes, Chair. I mean, I don't really have a great deal to add to the report. Really, it's recommending that you consider setting up a working party. Clearly, it's quite a big event and will need some consideration. There are options there that members may wish to consider, but I would suggest that those options are almost pushed on to the working party to consider and drive forward as they see fit. It's really establishing the working party and agreeing to a new items budget to be included in the 2016-17 budget in order to facilitate some of the proposals that have been driven forward by the working party.
Thank you very much. Any comments from anybody? Councillor Mendel.
I would like to say that I would very much support that a working party be established. I think we're very lucky to live in a country with such a stable regime, and if you look at our royal family, I think they contribute hugely to this. I think we are the envy of the world for our having such a inspirational leader, and I think we should do everything we can to celebrate what is a major milestone in her life.
Thank you very much. I would certainly support this. There are lots of ways that we can do things. Is it clean for the Queen?
Yeah,
one idea, sort of like a litter picking exercise. I'm sure there's plenty of other ideas. It would be good to involve other community groups, people around the town who may have good ideas. And I think we've got an appropriate budget to start. So I'd like to recommend that to Council, those 2 points. All in favour, please? Thank you very much indeed.
Chair, in the report it's intimating that clearly the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor will be involved with the working party. I know that you'll be looking for members of the public to the community to be engaged as well, but I suppose really it's saying to you, can you select or take nominate if anybody is interested?
If other councillors wish to participate on this, very welcome. Volunteers can approach me and we'll set something up for the next few weeks. Get something done. Thank you. Okay. Next one, standing orders.
Yes, Chair, this particular report is just really picking up on standing orders and particularly amending the standing orders where decisions have been taken by the Council on a variety of issues since they were first agreed or recently agreed in May. And this is just tying together those and also the more recent one regarding apologies. So that's all included in the new standing orders, and so I'm asking if the Mayor can sign these as redrafted.
Okay. Any comments from members? Mr. Martin?
Yes, thank you. Obviously, I've just had a quick look through the wording, and the point 8, a means of negotiating absence through the use of a substitute. It seems a little uncertain there whether that means a councillor can be absent for their entire term as long as they provide a substitute.
Which one are you referring to?
Point 8, standing order 8 on page 58.
Standing order 8, sorry, I didn't catch it.
Well, the only comment I would make, Chair, is that if a member does make appropriate arrangements and has a substitute for them at a meeting, then they are not absent. They have made the procedure and requirement to actually acknowledge that they are attending, and I believe you'll find that in line with the process that is the Local Government Act, that they would be recognised as attending council, as it were. So yes, I hear what you say, Councillor Martin, and it does seem a bit of a misnomer, but the fact is you can make apologies and still be there, as it were, if you have a substitute.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on this, please? Very well. In that case, we move to recommendation at 2.1 on page 55. It's recommended that the standing orders are approved by council and the mayor authorised to sign copies accordingly. Can we show them in favour, please? Thank you very much. Any against?
Abstention.
Thank you. One abstention. Okay. 8.3, local council award scheme.
Yep, Chair, this has been circulated to everybody, and I've actually also sent it to you electronically. I think the electronic copy was probably more helpful. I hope you managed to look at that, because that had all the links which are connected to the report that has been submitted to you. Basically, I'm looking for them. This was a decision again taken in May. Not necessarily with the desire of the town clerk, but hey-ho. Basically, this was a decision taken in May that members would like to move forward and go for the Quality Gold Scheme award that has now come forward out of the local council award scheme, and I think that there's detail in there that gives you some background as to how the local council award scheme was formulated. We've now put together our application. And what I need from council to comply with the scheme is confirmation that the prepared statement outlined at paragraph 4.2 and then go into 4.2.1, 3, I think there are 4 or 5 criteria, that you have actually read those criteria and that you have approved them, that you agree that these are the criteria, these are the fundamental elements that comply with the application. And subject to that, then I'd like your authority, Chair, to submit the application form detailed in the report.
Okay. If I could just, everybody's got a copy of these. We've got 3 recommendations, 4 recommendations, I beg your pardon. I think it's fairly straightforward if we're going to support the Quality Gold Award submission. So, all in favour, please? Sorry, was that a question? Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure how I missed that. I had a look on the website and I couldn't seem to open any reports for this at all. So I wasn't sure if this was the application form.
Yes,
this copy here, is it the application form?
It will be taken and put into the application form, yes. I mean, basically, I beg your pardon, the detail at the end, it says that the council has confirmed by resolution that it publishes online, and all of those links should take you to what we've said we are going to do. So this will be the application form that goes to the body that will administer the Lake House scheme, and they will click on it. Apparently, I believe they have to have my mobile telephone number, and I am meant to be available to them. I don't know if it's 24/7, but certainly over a period of time they can contact me at their will to check anything. So I was sincerely hoping that somebody would say, I was sincerely hoping somebody would say, yes, I've tried all the links like you said, and I can't if you can't open any of them, I'm aghast. But maybe 1 or 2 were taking you to the wrong place. It happens. Yeah. We've tried to make sure it doesn't. But if you're saying we can't open any of them, then we've got a problem. We've got to go back.
Maybe it was just the way I misunderstood the statement there, but I thought it was attached to the agenda.
So the statement? Sorry, are you actually?
So where it says the application form will be circulated separately, however it will also be on the website attached to this report, I thought it meant the report, when you go to the agenda and the public can click on the link. I couldn't open anything to do with this.
Oh, right.
I don't know if anyone else tried it.
So you couldn't get through from the agenda report on council, right, from the council, but not, right,
Well, I think
I'll have to look at that.
giving you his
Thank you,
answer,
thank you.
and that will be looked at.
I've got two other queries.
Yeah.
Shall I mention
Alright,
them
go on.
now? On 4.2.3.1, it says three most recent examples of the Town Council taking the lead on planning for the future have been the response to the draft strategic local plan, delivering affordable housing development and producing a neighbourhood plan. I think that sounds a bit misleading, and that obviously we haven't actually started producing a neighbourhood plan as such. We've agreed to start the process rolling by our area of designation, but I would say that the council haven't actually agreed to produce a neighbourhood plan as yet. So I'd say that's a little bit misleading. And one other point was the Harpenden Ecology Group. 4.2.2.3.
Great number, isn't it?
Yes. The Town Council recognises the Harpenden Ecology Group.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's the previous Town Council Harpenden Ecology Group.
No, there is a Harpenden Ecology Group. It was never disbanded, albeit there was some confusion over the fact that it was started by an external body when in fact it was an internal body, but we as a council encouraged the Ecology Group to continue to meet. We were welcome to do that as an independent organisation. They are not Harpenden Town Council Ecology Group, they are Harpenden Ecology Group. Their terms of reference are what they wish them to be, but clearly they have got terms of reference which we once helped with and produced when it was a town council organisation. But yes, they are recognised by the town council. We've openly stated at committee, the chair of the environment committee that confirmed that. They actually said that at committee we would welcome your observations and your feedback on any issues relating to ecology, biodiversity in the town.
Yeah, thank you. It's just that the last minutes, if you actually look at the Harpenden Ecology Group, the last minutes for that group were that it had to be a councillor as chair of that group. So I just think it's a bit misleading for anyone reading this and trying to find the Harpenden Ecology Group. But, you know, the setup was that a councillor had to be the chair. So maybe that should be looked into.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other Councillor Vance?
Just to point out to Councillor Martin that if you were to read paragraph 4.2.3.5, it does state very clearly exactly where we are in terms of the neighbourhood planning process. So, for instance, it does state very clearly there that that is at an early stage. So I have to say that I think the initial comments were not entirely reflective of the content of the report, which sets out very clearly where we are in terms of the neighbourhood plan.
Thank you very much. Councillor
James.
James.
Thank you. How will these aspirations of the council be monitored so that, you know, they will be carried through once we agree this?
Well, I mean, they've got to be monitored, and in fact, our most relevant means of monitoring, and one of the documents that is, I would say, one of our prime documents being presented for the award to support our application is the annual report. And the annual report not only outlines the annual report not only outlines how we performed in the previous year, so our next year's annual report will reflect on how we managed our resources, how we managed against our targets and ambitions throughout this year we're in now, but will also highlight what are our ambitions for moving forward. And you agree those. So this is presented to you, and you make those decisions. I think that one of the challenges that we had as officers this year was that there were elections in May, and I'm afraid it is a bit of a stumble as a consequence of that. Everything gets knocked around a little bit while we're sorting out committees and structures and so on. But normally there is hopefully we're a bit slicker in getting reports to each individual committee. So that's human resources, environment, policy and finance, so that you're all making planning, you're all making decisions that help officers identify what your ambitions are, what your targets are, and we can work towards those. And they're reported, as I say, through the annual reports.
Any other points? Thank you very much. Taking those on board, can we move to the recommendations now? 2.1.1 to 2.1.4. I'd like to recommend those to council. Can I have a show of hands, please? Favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? You're abstaining? Thank you. One abstention. Okay, that brings us to item 9, which is exempt business. So we need to resolve that we move into part 2 as it is, to describe it, to look at the process in blue. So can we vote on that, please? We're going to resolve to move into part 2. Thank you very much. So, members of the public would like to leave, please.
So, can we confirm that equipment is completely switched off and not recording in the corner? This is not our equipment.
Absolutely.
Can we pull the plug out of wherever it needs?
It
It should be removed from the...
It should be removed from the room.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well, you can do it. I don't think it'll make any
Okay, I'll write it up.